forum in actual fact. So welcome to the councillors, to the ones that have joined us by Zoom. We have Councillor Sue McGinn, Councillor Leo Horval, Councillor Bruce Morris and Councillor Anna Shields, who is there somewhere. Today we have 3 public forum presentations. One from Paul Hallier, who will be speaking for item number 9.1. Then we'll hear from James Dungay, who will be speaking against 9.1. And then we'll hear from Paul Hallier again, who will be speaking for the Maria River Road recommendation. I'll now hand over to the General Manager to outline public forum.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Welcome to our public forum members. There are a couple more just getting signed in at the moment and who will be up. The public forum is an opportunity for the public to speak to items on Council's agenda. You have up to 5 minutes to speak to that item. Following that, the councillors may ask questions, at which time you have a further minute, I think, from memory, to actually address that question you may be asked. You do have the liberty not to answer the questions if you so choose as well. You're not compelled to actually answer questions from the councillors. The public forum isn't a avenue of debate. It is simply for the councillors to hear the arguments put forward by the public speakers in relation to the items. Council will then actually consider the items tomorrow at the council meeting. I think each of the speakers have been given the information about that previously. We do ask, obviously, that the public speakers stick to the subject that is the item that they're addressing, that they don't use derogatory terms of our local residents, ratepayers, staff or councillors, that they keep themselves focused on that, and the Mayor does have the ability to pull speakers up should they be going off track or speaking inappropriately. So I think that should cover it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, General Manager. And we'll now ask Mr. Hallier if he would like to... Oh, Councillor Morris.
Just a question, Madam Mayor. For the public forum, is there not a need for declarations of conflict of interest to be made?
At our briefing session there is, but I don't believe...
Not the public.
Actually, there is. Is there any... Oh, sorry, you're right, Councillor Morris. Is there any...
I thought there was.
Yes, there is. Is there any conflict of interest? Councillor Williams.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in speech by James Dungay, as I am his employment. I'm his employment consultant outside of the chamber.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to apologise. I haven't got mine up and running yet, but just in case there's something spoken about item, I don't know what number it is, if the 9.4, that I'll be leaving the room if anything comes up about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. So that's a pecuniary significant interest in that item. Is there anyone else that's got any declarations? No.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I do have one in the briefing, but you'd like it now? No?
Not necessary.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, Mr. Hallier, if you'd like to come forward, and thank you. We just wait one moment till... Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, Mr. Hay, we'll give you a 1 minute warning after 4 minutes, so you know you'll have just 1 minute left.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for the opportunity this afternoon to speak about the Plummer Road and about the tarring and the final, should go ahead or not. I would like to present this topic in 2 parts. The first part is on the reports that are submitted for environmental impacts and Aboriginal heritage, and the second part of the presentation is on the significance to the community, the Macleay Valley, and the tourists to the Crescent Head Plummer Road experience. First, I'd like to speak about the reports that were with the minutes. Ozark consultant. I agree with the findings, which to me are common sense. The Ozark was the Aboriginal Heritage Report, independent. What this report, however, does indicate to me is the perceived significance of the area of Plummer Road. It is also a disappointment that there's been an existing very ordinary road to be sealed to bring these claims to light. In other words, this is a crook road, and all of a sudden we've got these things happening. I also note that our official the official due diligence guidelines were carried out on 2 occasions with a member of the local Aboriginal community by Kempsey Shire Council. I believe Councillor Baxter has contact with Roger Ferguson and is working hard with the Dungutty people. A suggestion has been made by Councillor Baxter for an Indigenous statue to be erected in Crescent Head. Perhaps given the experience of this controversial road, money may be well spent on finding Indigenous areas of significance valley-wide. Just a suggestion. The MPWS report, satisfactory, I find it satisfactory and appears to be negotiating some operational advantage on its area. The biodiversity and conservation report has no issues really and endorses the NPWS report. The report does suggest mitigation for any possible problems. The report assessment of KSC Point Plummer Road sealing, review of environmental factors, Brickwood planning services. This report was provided by the Crescent Head Ratepayers Association, and I dismiss this report's validity due to a conflict of interest by the author, Mr. Robert Pitt. On the significance value to the community, I'd like to draw people's attention to our values, which are, inclusiveness. Inclusiveness, sealing the road will be a significant step forward in combining the Dungutty culture and scenic coastline to all people. Given Mr. Westaway's findings, there now becomes a further reason to visit the area within the road sealed. When the road is sealed, now allow school buses to visit and see the Dungutty site firsthand. Perhaps create a position for a guide. Currently the area is becoming elite due to the type of vehicle that can access the area only, usually a big 4-wheel drive or twin cabs, for the purpose of surfing. The ordinary people, like me, those that live in our valley and who drive your standard 2005 Commodore or 2020 Toyota Corolla, but is not limited to, are generally excluded from the Plummer Road because the risk to their vehicle is very, very big. Carers also, which is a growing industry in the valley, are always looking for great places to take people in their cars to show them, and I think that would be open that up to carers as well. So we've got ordinary people, carers. The values to the community, as described on most council information, describes the daily inspirations of our way to live. These include healthy. What could be more healthy? Is that 1 minute?
It's 1 minute to go.
Okay. Healthy. What could be more healthy than a walk along Gurra Beach, which means yesterday, followed by a swim or a cycle along a sealed road or a dust-free camping or living area? Wealthy. The wealth of knowledge by not being excluded from this area due to access issues is immeasurable. It includes the easy visitation for everyone to visit the National Park, the Aboriginal sites and feeling of the area, just to name a few. Connected. This road will complete a very important connection connecting coast to Dungutty culture, connecting all Macleay Valley residents to an area that was perhaps inaccessible for them, to connect school buses to go and see the nature's course safe. The sealed road will bag better traffic, but it'll be safer conditions. It is what is now a free-for-all. Governance. Good governance is about being accountable. The council, by sealing this road, are being accountable. All information is available in the process of this. Finally, development. Development may be seen as an issue, but as stated in the original approval in 2018, the DAs are the DAs.
That's time, Mr. Hallier.
Okay.
Any questions from councillors? Councillor Patterson and Councillor Hall. I'll take Councillor Patterson first and then Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Hallier, for your presentation today. I've got a couple of questions for you, if you wouldn't mind answering, because you being a local out there. Have you ever seen speeding vehicles in the dust on Plummer Road with caravans or boats secured behind them?
No, I've seen speeding vehicles with camp trailers and smaller items, but usually the caravans and the boats don't seem to be able to get up to speed because it just shakes the living daylights out. I've actually, on my phone, have a video of following a boat and following cars along that Plummer Road. If you want, I could show you later.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
Do you think it's been a safe practice following vehicles, many vehicles through the holiday times up and down Plumbers Lane with the visibility of?
It's shocking.
Yeah.
All I can say is if it's the afternoon and you're heading home to Crescent Head, you can't see. The dust is immeasurable. The dust is just unsafe.
Just another question for you, Mr. Hallier, please. Do you believe the sealing of Loftus Road to the north of Crescent Head has been a positive or negative?
Oh, positive. Sorry. Can I?
Yeah.
When you say Loftus Road, you mean?
I mean the Belmore Road.
Yeah, that was ages ago. And to be honest with you, I'd have to leave myself out of that because I wasn't here then.
Okay. Do you realise, or did you know that the road to Crescent Head from Kempsey was once gravel?
Yes, and Crescent Head, in fact, was once gravel.
Thank you, Mr. Hallier.
Councillor Horton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Hallier, thank you for being here today and showing the respect to Council and the forum by turning up to give your opinion. We really appreciate it, I'm sure. I noticed that there was a survey that was put out by Notar and Goulart, and I have it here somewhere. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, I can't see it.
No, it disappears. Righto. Its heading was No Tar for Plummer Road. And it actually pointed out in the notes put out by council staff that it kind of not an open and fair survey, but there were 373 respondents to it. Did you respond?
I don't know, can't remember. No, I don't think I did.
Well, someone's used your name and put it up, and you were in favour, which is not surprising. But
Madam Mayor, here you say.
I won't. Yes, no, I won't take your point of order because it is in the documents, and my memory, there were so many of them to read. I did have a recollection that Mr. Hallier had responded, and he was speaking for. His responses were that he was in favour of Point Plummer Road. So, Councillor Hobble, could you ask your question?
Yes. So on page 629, there's the Crescent Head Yak one. And on page 103, there's one from you. Did you do both of those?
What's this got to do with the Plummer Road?
Well, you made a response to it, Mr. Hallier, and I thank you for doing that. But it's a survey, and I'm just wondering, the survey itself was, in my opinion, biased by coming out with a no tar for Plummer Road heading and then asking people to vote on it, which, as council pointed out, it kind of prejudices the survey. So
That kind of prejudices the outcome, yeah.
yes, and that's what happened. There was a huge percentage in favour against tarring the road. So it's not a legitimate one, but did you feel the need to complete the survey twice to try and give the opposite side a result?
Sorry, I'm not following you.
Well, I can see that you put in two survey responses to it, and it's not a legitimate one anyway. So I'm saying, did you feel an urge to get your point across twice?
Well, I don't recall. It's not my sort of behaviour, and I prefer not to answer something that it's so vague.
Okay, done.
Thank you.
In the paperwork. The other question I was going to ask you, you've made the comment that Brickwood made a review of it and questioned the report from on the review of environmental factors. You said there's a conflict by Mr. Robert Pitt. I don't understand why you would say that. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, well, if I worked for, I'll give an example. If I worked for Bellbrook School and somebody came along and said, I don't think you're fit for Bellbrook School, and we're changing things around here, and you can accept this way of working,
yes,
or that way of working, and you decide not to accept that way of working, or in fact, the new hierarchy might say, I just don't want you working for me because I don't believe you delivered what I want to deliver for this school. Then you go to another school and you're asked to do a report on the school you were previously at. I think it would prejudice your opinion of that school and of that hierarchy.
I take your point. It's a really good point. Thank you very much. Your comment, and it's quite intriguing, that Dr. Westaway has made a preliminary report on Point Plummer Road and the Aboriginal heritage of the area. You've taken a very positive spin, saying that it's such a good report, it should bring more visitors.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell me why?
Well, I think if Mr. Westaway, I don't know how much Mr. Westaway costs, but I see he's from the Queensland University, say the Chinese, I can't say that, say that it would be an issue that Mr. Westaway would be being paid to do what he does, I think, in a professional manner. And I think it's great. I think it's great if guys like Mr. Westaway can either give up their time for nothing or be paid a fair wage by somebody to go and find Indigenous sites and history in this valley. Why wouldn't you encourage that? And why wouldn't you have visitors say, look what we've got in our valley?
Okay, thank you very much. Final question. Did you know that my name is Haubill? It's Hauville. And
Your relevant question, please, Councillor.
And I've always, as a principal, I was never a headmaster. Just so you could correct some of the things you write. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on your last point before you were cut off, Paul, would you say, in your opinion, that the existing zoning along Plummer Road protects it from any the fearful thoughts people have of outrageous development down there?
Yeah, okay. Well, I've got to say, like you, I'm not a developer, and I'm not a mind reader, and I haven't got a crystal ball. They get tender, but they're not right. So the thing I'm saying is that the DAs are in place because that question was directly asked of Mr. Milburn, I think it was, in the 2018 meeting, and he said, the DAs that are in place now are the DAs that are there. So if it's already there for development of some type, or it's not there, then that's not going to change. The rest, mate, is wetlands. We used to call it swamps, but it's wetlands. You can't build in that crap. So there's a lot of, and then you've got the national parks beyond Big Hill, so they're not about to give up anything. You know, they'll negotiate something, but they'll never give up anything. So I figure that. Do you want to ask me another question? I can't answer that question.
That's 1 minute for the answer. We're right on time. So have you got any other further questions, anybody? Councillor Saul has. Have you finished, Councillor Baxter, with your questioning?
Well, just to reiterate the point, so do you feel that that area down there is safe from any unwarranted
what I'm saying is that without putting words into my own mouth and without prejudice, is that what I'm saying is that it's time that people from Crescent Head, myself included, got with council, got to understand what the DAs are there now, got to talk and influence people not to build anything that's out of character. Now, that's not up to anybody else but us, okay? So a road isn't making, I mean, we've got one property that's got an expression of interest going. We've got Mandalay that's up for sale, and we just sold 799 Plummer Road, right, which is an eco resort, 5 cottages, 1 house. Well, are we flowing around in the dirt about that? Are we worried about that? And if we are, let's get involved with it and find out why. Not just throw ourselves on a road, spit the dummy out, and just look like fools. Just my humble opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Saul.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Hallier, I commend your speech and address to Council today. Mr. Hallier, your theme of your speech, I believe, is being inclusive. And your point you made about once the road is tar sealed, that allow many more other community groups to enjoy that scenic area. Can you expand a bit further, please, on those comments?
Yeah, at the moment, it is a bit exclusive. So unless you've got a really, adequate car for the area, or you've got a permanent site down there, say at Plummer, and you can get your boat down there and back in one piece. All the people at West Kempsey School, let's just take the Greenhill School, right? A lot of those people are Dungutty people, I think. I don't quote me, I'm not sure. But how would it be if they could hop in a bus, a school bus or a bus, and be taken to where their heritage is in a bus? Because right now they can't do that. Right now, they've got to sit in there and read a book or look at a film because the road is so shocking. Great for surfers, shocking for everybody else. So, I can't. That excludes people. It excludes carers that are trying to get people from Dungeon, the old people's home, out for a day. People ring me because I live on the Mariah River Road about.
That's your 1 minute answer.
Thank you, Mr. Hallier.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Thank you. So you may sit down now. Thank you. And we will call on Mr. Dungay for his...
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
I have one follow-up question with Mr. Hallier, please, if that's possible.
Yes.
Positive one, very positive.
Yes.
Mr. Hallier, have you seen the statement of character for Point Plummer coastline that's on the council website at the moment seeking input from local people?
No, not as yet.
It's excellent, though, if you can promote that. I don't know if you can't see that. It's on the You're Saying Maclay, and it actually gives a statement of character for those people who've got problems.
Thank you, Councillor. You've asked your question. It's been answered. And we'll now call on Mr. Dungay, who is speaking against 9.1. Before we do, I'm going to ask the General Manager to repeat partly the parameters around public forum speakers. Because of COVID-19, we have had to restrict how people come in and come out of chambers. And Mr. Dungay wasn't here for our introduction and our welcome. So welcome, Mr. Dungay. And I'll just ask the General Manager to outline the speaking arrangements for public forum.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Welcome, Mr. Dungay. As you would have seen, we're fairly tight with the controls of the time. There's 5 minutes to do your address. Then you're able to answer any questions you so choose from the councillors. You do have the ability to not answer the questions. You're not obliged to answer the questions from the councillors. There is 1 minute to reply to each of the questions. The forum isn't a forum for debate by the councillors. The debate will occur tomorrow in the council meeting. We ask that you maintain your speaking to the topic of the report before council and refrain from any derogatory remarks that may relate to residents, ratepayers, staff, councillors and the like. The Mayor does have the ability to step in and pull speakers up if they step outside those guidelines, and I know you've spoken before and you're aware of those and you speak very well. So, welcome.
How long I've got?
Thank you. Thank you, James.
5 minutes.
Well, Marangbu, thank you very much. Jangadi, I come from ancient culture of thousands of years in this country. Before Kempsey Shire Council building was ever built, my people walked this country. Before Kempsey itself was built, my people lived here and worked. I'm a descendant of those ancient people, and I stand before you. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. I try to time my speech, so I'm here for Nautaha for Gulliver, Point Pomerode, Crescent, New South Wales, Australia, and simply because to protect the heritage and culture of my people that Point Pomerode is renowned for. Matter of fact, in 2004, I gave my Australia Day Award back to protest against the tarring of Point Pomerode, and I'm going to do it again. We have found Aboriginal flakes on the road with Mr. Michael Westaway, Aboriginal sites directly on the side of the road, and that road was tarred in 2004, and I believe there was no archaeological survey at the time. The Dunghutti Aboriginal Elders Council Committee have not been consulted before the decision was made, Point Pomerode by Kempsey Shire Council, and during the process up to this date. If no further consultation by Kempsey Shire Council with DAC, if they do not consult us, then we must act in a preventive manner to protect our Aboriginal cultural sites, which is over 5,000 years they found a midden. The Kempsey Local Aboriginal Land Council, Governing Board and members was not consulted over this issue of Point Pomerode in a public meeting, only the CEO, as I believed. And the public notice that Kempsey Land Council has been consulted is not 100% correct. I attended almost every land council I'm a member, and we must take preventive steps to do so to protect our Aboriginal cultural sites. And that comes from the Aboriginal Land Rights Act of 52A, 3A, 52 4B, 52 4B. The Land Council must act to protect our Aboriginal heritage and culture. That is the law, the Constitution of the Aboriginal Land Council. Aboriginal woman Pat Turner, Coalition for Peace, and responding to the National Government Agreement on Closing the Gap, says Indigenous people wanted to have a direct say on how things should be working in their communities. Well, I've got a petition here from the Dunghutti people. I put that in my submission, 80, under COVID restriction. I risked my life to get it for fear of COVID-19. Also, there's a few other issues that of the Bible's points of view. It says, if thou seest oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regard us, and there be higher than they. I put that in my submission. With God as the Great Spirit rule and parole. He has the last say.
1 minute.
And in saying that, I have up front twice said to rescind. I asked with all respects to rescind the decision for no vote to protect our Aboriginal cultural sites against such devastation. Against protection of overdevelopment that will destroy our beautiful Aboriginal sites and that pristine environment forever. And so, in saying that, God does not agree, as I stated twice in my application to Kempsey Shire Council. My Dunghutti people, they are not very happy And there's in saying that a decision that has been made, as I believed, undemocratic, because the Isle of Crescent did not be consulted. Our Dungari people were not consulted. And there is, but I understand that local governance is important. Don't get me wrong.
That's your time, Mr. Dungay. You're now able to take questions and answer those questions.
Councillor Hawthorne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Uncle James, I congratulate you on your presentation. I'm really impressed with your spirituality and your
question, Councillor.
With the land. My question is to try and understand your viewpoint, if I could, and not being derogatory at all. But at the present time, Uncle James, we have a road that's already there, and the surface is gravel. If the surface changes to bitumen or shield, how does that change the spirituality of the area? Can you explain that? Because I don't quite understand why it would change.
Well, first of all, you got to understand Point Plummer Road has been there for 50 years.
Yes.
It hasn't been gravelled and no accidents. Motorists has been killed on that road compared to Loftus Road 2, and 12 motorists has been killed on the Crescent Head Road. So for a tarred road, and I've been driving for over 40 years through the outback. But what I'm trying to say is we are doing this as a preventive measure against overdevelopment that will destroy our sites. And that's basically where I'm at. And I think that sealing the road, the cars will go faster and there will be more accidents. There will be more danger as of somebody who's been driving for 50, 40 years.
Thanks, Mr. Dungay. Another question.
Is there any further questions? I'll take Councillor Hawthorne, then I'll take Councillor Baxter.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. Uncle James, you've again made a very good point. I don't know if you, and I think out of this, would you think that there's going to be a higher regard for Aboriginal heritage in the Point Plummer area, even if it is sealed? Because you and people like you have been making such a great point about Aboriginal heritage.
Well, you know what the song lines are? Ancient songline goes across Point Plummer Road. Ancient songline said our people had tracks walking before roads were ever invented, called Nyapang. And you break that connection, well, our ancestors are not very happy. We carry on that tradition, pippies, and going to that beach since I was a child. And there are many sites that weren't told for reasons, cultural reasons, and there are sites that, as Michael Westways, hopefully we are going to investigate these areas. It's rich. It's been a very popular area, and we feel at the end of the day, our heritage and cultural and spiritual will be unbalanced.
Okay.
And
so
Tarring Road will bring many people come to there, and those who don't know about our cultural, they come from all over the world.
Yes, but the point that
I camped there many times.
Thank you, Councillor. Have you a third question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Just quickly, the previous speaker to you, I don't know if you heard him, Uncle James, is saying that Dr. Westway's report is highlighting the Aboriginal heritage of the area, and that would bring more people to the area to understand that heritage. Would that not be a good thing?
Well, the access to it'll cause more problems because the last, if you've been down there the last holidays, it was very hard to get across the line. Berners Creek Bridge was congested, and what I'm saying is, we the elders, we free access to that beach for our ancient food, traditional pippies and fishing, and among other things, abalone, and then at times we may not be allowed to go to that beach like we've done from my generation and the generation gone past. And there are, when we in the Aboriginal look at land and how we are to look at after our native animals through our totemic system.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Uncle James.
Thank you. Councillor Baxter, question.
Thank you, James, for your presentation. I think it was 1996, you might remember, James, that Uncle Athol proposed a youth camp site down there on the land and bring Aboriginal kids from Western New South Wales out and do some cultural camps there. And I think Les Lockwood's taking some of the Dungutty boys down to racecourse, and I think Front Plummer is a sacred site.
Question.
Wouldn't you say that an Aboriginal campsite and an Aboriginal business that could create employment for local Dungutty, wouldn't you say that's a good thing?
Yeah, it would be good. I wanted to run the Dungutty Aboriginal cultural tours, but I wanted to have the cultural tours and boost the economy of Crescent Head and our Macleay Valley.
Thank you. Excellent.
And I wanted to do that, but the rustic road, as the National Trust of Australia had said consistently from 2004 to 2019, they wanted to remain as a rustic road, Point Plummer Road. And for me to conduct a tour of such, I would like to see the white whale Migaloo. That would be a highlight. But to conduct Aboriginal cultural tours so that we can boost the Crescent Head economy, help our young people for jobs, and also help our Macleay Valley, like I've always have.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, James, for your presentation. James, a question to you is there any speed limits on the dirt road at the moment, and are they able to be regulated?
Well, there's about a 60-kilometre zone. I don't think the highway patrol goes down there. They stop at the tar road.
Yeah.
But the four-wheel drives go down there with the police. But I've got on my footage camera during the peak of holidays, cars speeding well excess of 60 kilometres. They're just, so as I say, you tar the road, the cars will go faster and there will be more accidents. From a man who's been driving for over 40 years. The outback, the Nullarbor Plains, all through New South Wales, Western Australia, you name it. I'm talking from life experience. I'm not just talking because it's all written down in paper. I know that road, and I have delivered firewood down that road in the deadness of the dark, and I had no problems at all if you slow down to the conditions.
Yeah. I've got a couple more questions too. Thank you, James. Do you think that the users of the road, mostly being tourists, possibly coming from the city areas with their big four-wheel drives and trailers, do you think that all of those people using that road are experienced on driving on dirt roads, towing vehicles, or using dirt roads that are wet with other traffic? Do you think that they would be experienced? Do you think that council could put a regulation on them that no one can drive on the road unless they know how to drive a four-wheel drive?
Oh, I don't think that'd be possible because once they hold the license, car license, they have they can virtually drive anywhere. But I'm just saying that if you mentioned something about the wet, now when it's wet, there is no dust. The road is settled, and I've sent photographs in my submission the result of cars driving on a road that is freshly rained. And Point Plumbers is smooth when it is gravelled. When in the wet, you won't see no dust. So it's not always dusty, as some people make out to be. And get it like this. And also, you got to realise too that you're in the bush, you're in the country. You know, I'd rather drive down a gravel road than the thousands of, and I'm addressing the same thing as I did in my submission. I'd rather drive down one gravel road than thousands roads that are tar sealed in the big smoke city.
James, I just got one more question for you, James. Thank you. James, do you think that tarring the road would enable better access for elderly, for school children, for disabled people on tours, for access them not to go because the elderly won't go swimming, the disabled won't go swimming, but do you think it's fair that they would be able to have access to those areas? Because I believe the road's not being tarred right through. The road is not being tarred right through the forestry vehicle. Yeah. So do you think that would be a good thing for the elderly Aboriginal people, for the young children access? Because I believe at the moment to get a bus to go on there, I believe that it's a no-go.
Question.
That's the question. Do you think it's a good thing?
Well, we had a meeting with the elders on last week, and there were Aboriginal elder women. They had no problem getting there on Racecourse Headland. We had our last meeting on Point Pomerade, some of them in their 60s, 70s. And you've got to realise you're talking to a man who has driven disabled people with the Durry Aboriginal Medical Service, who have had to transport people with wheelchairs. And if they drive to the conditions, and if that road is properly clay-based and gravel, just like Burgess Creek Lane Road and Station Road, like I put in my submission, and compacted down by the rollers, the road will last longer. And that's you know what that works out as? Less money for council. Finance, and that's where it lies. But
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions. Thank you, James, for coming to council and being part of public forum.
And one more thing, thing is that our people are left in a state of melancholy because of the decisions that are made, which I've got to be honest, it has been an undemocratic decision to tar Point Pomerade for the very fact that not all President Ed ratepayers were consulted. Our people were not consulted. And in the local governance, isn't that what democracy is all about?
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
What do you want me to say?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, just in terms of managing COVID, if there's members of the public who want to stay, feel welcome to stay, but if you don't need to stay, we'd ask you to go just in terms of our COVID management. It's part of what our continuity management team has dealt with. Council won't be debating this item tonight. They'll actually be debating it tomorrow at the council meeting. So there will be no other questions dealt with in relation to Plummer Road today. But feel free, I know Mr. Halley is speaking about Mariah River Road, and you may want to stay and listen to his presentation on that. You're welcome to do so. But if you aren't required to stay, we'd ask you to go just because of our COVID safe policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hallier, welcome back to the lectern, and you are now speaking for item number 9.6, which is the Mariah River Road Project Memorandum of Understanding. Thank you, Mr. Hallier.
It's a bit like hire a speaker, isn't it? Okay, thanks again for the time. It's a tale of two roads, isn't it? We've got the Point Plummer Road with the controversy, and 5 kilometres across we've got the Moira River Road, which has been waiting in the wings a long time. But I'd just like to convey, I'm going to talk to the Memorandum of Understanding and understanding the Memorandum of Understanding, in that I don't know whether you've received letters or not, but sincere thank you on behalf of the residents of Moira River Road for the funding, what we see as being quick work, like Mr. Fisher's surveyors out there, or somebody who's hired, and we've been hugging them. So they've been out there doing something, putting pink ribbons on things. So we've been running around with ribbons in our hair. It's been great. And also to get to a memorandum of understanding is, we might be getting to the point a bit here, but sincere thanks from the people of Moira River Road, and sincere thanks to, in the future, in case I'm not around, to the people who will enjoy our valley when they get to the end of Moira River Road on the Crescent Head Road, and I'll have Macleay Valley beaches to the right, Macleay Valley Mountains to the left, and I'll only take them 20 minutes to get up from Port Macquarie, hallelujah, straight past my little shop. Anyway, the joke. So getting the memorandum of understanding, because the worst thing that can happen now is debate or, lack of a better way of it, analysis paralysis over these things, is that, as I understand a memorandum of understanding, is that it's just a document that says, I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that, and this is how we're going to structure it. There's no ego involved. There's no contractual agreements. Well, it's not even a legal document, but it's just a document to say, we knock off at 4 o'clock, we start again tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning, or this fellow will be the head of the project, and this fellow from the other side of the border will be heading the project for them, with the two municipalities involved. And the important thing about this is we have a real opportunity as a council to show just how damn well we do things. We can show that we can work with other people, which is always a good sign, and that we are enthusiastic to do the best we can. A bit like the bridge on the River Kwai, you can either starve to death or you can work damn hard and get that bridge built. And, heartfelt from the people of Maria who want that bridge built. But it's not going to happen. Look, we've hit this COVID thing. There's revenue out there being thrown around, but we haven't even struck the recession yet. If we strike that too bad before we get a pick in the ground with this, it's good night. They'll be starting to take money off us left, right and centre to pay for welfare or whatever, New Start, Job Start, all that sort of stuff. So what's that? Oh, it's 3 minutes 30 on mine. Yeah, 1.5 minutes. So I ask, please, I respectfully ask that tomorrow, when you consider this, that it's a tick and flick. It's just, yep, that's how we work together. That's how we're going to do it. Decisive action. No need to say whether the contractors are coming from here or the contractors are coming from there. It will all be in the operational plan. This last time I had all these sounds, I wasn't hard, machine. Still am. But so I just like that we can show that we can work with other people, and that this isn't a big deal, this MOU. This is just how we're going to work with you, and how they're going to work with us. So on behalf of the people on Maria River Road, which has virtual no controversy, we just welcome this to keep going, getting under budget and before time. That would be fantastic. So that's all I've got to say about that.
Thank you very much. There's no questions. So thank you, and thank you. Oh, there is Councillor Horval and Councillor Baxter. Councillors that are zooming in, if you could be as quick as you can to put up your hand if you want to ask a question, because there seems to be a bit of a delay, and sometimes I miss in the timing. I'll take Councillor Baxter first, and then Councillor Horval.
Thank you, Paul. Your metaphor is appropriate, I think. The bridge on the River Kwai, starving to death. A lot of people forget that 4 short years ago, this valley was.
Your question, Mr. Baxter?
It was
Question. Thank you, Mr. Hallier. It's about coming.
It was ranked 4th poorest in New South Wales, and I think the state government's investment
Question,
connecting
Councillor.
that coastal road from Laurelton to Scott's Head. You're saying it's going to be a boon for our valley as far as employment, economic growth.
The question is it going to be an economic boom?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, but I don't want it to sound like that. But yes, of course it will be, and of course it'll benefit everybody in the valley. I'm already starting this Dungutty tourist thing out there. You know, what a great opportunity! Imagine coming up from Port Macquarie or going on holidays in Port Macquarie, and you hop on a ferry, drive a very past the tea tree, pick up a bit of tea tree, past a distillery out there that makes gin, and a winery, and a great little front garden shop that sells eggs and shit. So can you imagine being able to do that?
Actually, that's a point of order.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
Oh, it's fertiliser. That's okay.
So no, it was, I apologise profusely.
It's quite all right.
I got carried away. I even forget what the question is now. But anyway, it'll be good for the economy. It'll be great for the economy. It'll be outstanding for the economy.
Councillor Horborn, your question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Hallier, thank you for your presentation and my question. Hopefully, we're going to let you sleep well tonight on this issue. You know that it was a unanimous vote to apply for this grant.
Do I know who?
We, as councillors, voted unanimously. That means everyone voted in favour of applying for this grant, and we've now got $17 million to share with Port Macquarie Hastings Council. That it's almost certainly. I can't see anyone voting against it, so I think you should sleep well tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Your question was?
Did you know we voted unanimously? Was my question, Madam Mayor.
Your answer is?
Oh, my answer is? I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hallier, and that brings to the conclusion our public forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And by the way, on names, my name is Hayler, Haylar.
Hayler.
Yeah,
Hayler.
like Taylor with an H.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not Hayler. So sometimes, though, we all get names mixed up.
We do get names mixed up. Absolutely, we do. Well, we take that on notice. So thank you for correcting that. And from now on, Paul.
That's the better way.
That's okay with you.
Yeah. Is that a question?
Thank you. We have ended public forum.